Hi, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart, episode by episode, the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast, meaning we are always going to bring up spoilers for things that will happen in the future as they relate to this episode.
Yeah, this week we're talking about Season 3, Episode 2, The Hybrid. This is the episode where Klaus and Stefan look for the werewolves and try to make some hybrids.
Oh yeah, classic.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we haven't at this point yet made any hybrids. It is only Klaus. So this is the journey of Season 3 is trying to make the hybrids. And this is the first episode they really get a chance to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, we saw where we left off in the last one. They have a werewolf who they have in transition. We'll be seeing more of that later as they try to find more and get that more rolling, get more turning.
Yeah.
But we start off at the Salvatore house. We pick up the next morning, don't know why I said it like that. Damon is removing his Stefan tracker closet because of course the place we left off with Damon last night was that Andy was killed by Stefan in front of him, which is awful.
Yeah, we're reminded of this too because it's on the news behind Damon. He's kind of listening to it while he tears all this down.
Yeah, so clearly the town is aware. Further shown by the fact that Elena appears saying to Damon that he's been dodging her calls and why didn't Damon tell her what happened. And it's obviously because Damon didn't want to ruin her birthday.
Yeah.
What she says, he's like, yeah, happy birthday, Elena. Andy's dead. What was he supposed to say? And Elena reveals that Stefan called her last night. And Damon insists that Stefan's gone. He's not just geographically gone. He is gone. He is not coming back, which is, of course, why, as we see, he's throwing all of this research into the fire and he lights the flame, burning all of that work he's been doing all summer. But again, headstrong Elena, she is so gung-ho that they're gonna get him, and she says if he was gone he wouldn't have called.
Yeah,
so she's not giving up anytime soon. Absolutely
no, she's
not.
relentless.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and she's went so far, she's so relentless. She got Liz to track the call, and she says that it came from Tennessee. And Damon again is we've been through this, he's gone.
Yeah.
And he just kind of she says no, he's not. He says nothing. She leaves, and he burns all of his little.
Yeah, he's definitely not as relentless. He's over it.
Yeah, but Elena not stopping.
Yeah,
we see Alaric is laying in bed, and he's woken up by some loud knocking at his door, and he answers the door. First of all, shirtless.
Yeah, he assumes it's Damon. He's like, Damon, go away, Damon. So he opens the door ready to be get out of here.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's Elena, of course,
because
she's trying to get him to come along.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is such a weird scene. I feel like he should immediately be which he doesn't need to.
Why did the writers even have to make him shirtless?
He can sleep in a shirt.
Yeah, my impression is they're trying to make him look disheveled because he does eventually put on a button up and he doesn't button it, which is also weird.
I was even notice that.
Why couldn't he just put on a t-shirt?
Yeah,
this is his 17-year-old. She just turned 18 yesterday.
Yeah, it's just
student
weird.
At his apartment alone. Put on a shirt, man. Why did the writers even have to say, let's make him shirtless in this scene?
I know. It was a weird choice. I did not like it.
They didn't need to do that. But anyway, she comes in.
Yeah. She's asking Alaric to tell her what he knows about Stefan and Tennessee. And Alaric again is giving her the, I'm checked out of this. Go ask Damon. And obviously Elena is I can't ask Damon. He doesn't want anything to do with this. And Alaric tells her, that's for a good reason. And Elena just keeps telling Alaric, Stefan can be saved. I'm not giving up on him. On and on and on. Again, just being relentless. That's Elena this whole episode.
Yeah.
And she begs Alaric to tell her anything that he knows. And he does eventually start telling her that Klaus and Stefan are tracking werewolves all over the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
Currently, they're outside of Memphis or something. Cut to Klaus and Stefan walking through the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee.
Yeah, we see them walking through the mountains. Stefan is carrying Ray on his back, unconscious, literally on his shoulders. And this is one of those scenes that on a first watch, I feel you're oh, Klaus is just teasing. But then on a second watch, you're is he really being genuine? Being you need a break, you need some water. He calls him his friend.
Yeah.
It's their dynamic is so funny.
I know.
On a rewatch. But anyway, Stefan is just annoyed over it. Yeah. And Klaus points out that they have finally found the werewolf pack. They're right there. They made it.
Yeah.
So they go right up into the wolf pack, and Stefan goes kind of first and drops Ray on the ground in front of everybody. And, immediately they all start freaking out, asking Stefan, like, who he is, what's going on. And Klaus saunters right in and says, like, the important question is, who am I?
Yeah.
And he says, please forgive the intrusion. My name is Klaus. Classic. Love him. And
I do love him.
The people don't love him, obviously. The woman who's like the leader of the pack is like, you're the hybrid. Klaus smiles and the camera like zooms in on him so fast and he goes, you've heard of me. Fantastic. And it cuts like away so fast from the scene. I'm gonna say it this whole season. I'm gonna say it every episode. I love Klaus so much.
I love him.
He's so great. So fun.
Yeah, that whole scene I was like, perfect. No notes.
Yeah, it's like you almost don't need it because like we just said it so fast. Like nothing really happens, but it just adds such a cool flair to just finding the werewolves and like showing up and being so bravado of, oh, you've heard of me. Love it.
I love him. Yeah.
He's the best. Not the best at the Lockwood house.
Oh my
god. Carol is putting vervain in the coffee. Classic. Just things we do as mothers, I guess.
Yeah.
And Tyler comes downstairs. He pours himself a cup and has like a little chit chat with her. Carol's stressed. She's had a long week.
She's calling Caroline. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Carol calls Caroline a prostitute. She says, if you're gonna bring a girl home, I wish you'd have the tact to not sneak out like a prostitute. Tyler's just like, she snuck out.
Yeah.
that's the part of that sentence he cares about at the moment. But then she watches him like take a sip of his coffee. Yes. And he kind of makes a face, but he just says the creamer tastes bad and like puts it down. So he's not a vampire.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, you can see she's kind of relieved. And then Tyler like makes to leave. And he quickly adds, by the way, Caroline is not a prostitute.
It's his good era. It's Tyler's like best era. We love him.
I know. I do like him in this era, especially the end of the next episode.
Yes.
But yeah, so they have their little moment. Tyler's not a vampire. And then he goes off and Carol call. I always do this. Don't make me talk about similar. Carol and Caroline.
Yeah, it's so confusing.
It is. It gets me every time. Carol calls someone named Bill. We don't know who yet.
Yeah.
About a vampire situation.
Yes.
So she calls it.
Yeah. I forgot that on a first watch, you don't know who Bill is. Like, this is the first drop of just like, hey, Bill, I'm in a vampire situation.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're just like, who's Bill? Obviously, on a rewatch, we know exactly who that is. We'll get to it at the end of the ep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is supposed to be kind of like a, who is this guy? Like, what's going on? Cut to the grill. Of course, we're always at the grill.
Of course.
Jeremy goes into the stock room to join Matt, who's like working, and Matt gets a little joking. He's like, please tell me you're not turning into one of those losers that hangs out at his work on his day off. I was like, you get him, Matt. You tell him.
I thought you were going to say they give Matt his little shirtless moment.
Oh, yeah. He's also shirtless for some reason. Whoever directed this episode was feeling spicy. They were like, we got to give people what they want. Every single man to be shirtless in this show, except for Ian or Paul, which is
the two people you would want.
Yeah, usually. Anyway, so yeah, he gets his little joke in, and Jeremy asks Matt if he remembers like what they talked about the night before, obviously at Elena's party, and Matt's like, the night was a blur. As we know, he was just so high he couldn't function.
He's giving last night was a movie.
Yeah, literally, that's his vibe. But Jeremy says, of course, like, about Vicki, that he saw Vicki again. And Matt doesn't really know what to do with that. Like, he's saying, like, why are you telling me about this? You're dating a witch. Why don't you tell her? Which I have to agree with Matt.
Yeah.
Like, Jeremy
goes on. It's a sad day, but.
Yeah, it's a sad day when Matt is the one speaking logic into the scene. But that's the scene for me. Because Jeremy goes on to say, like, he can't tell Bonnie because, like, it's his dead girlfriends. Like, he's seeing his dead girlfriends. Yeah. That's a hard combo. But then also he read that personal items in a family member works best when you're trying to contact someone. And I just think this is so insane. Like, I get the family connection helps. But first of all, this is so insensitive to ask when he literally doesn't even know if it will work or what's going on or literally anything. He just jumps to being like, let me pull in this guy whose sister like pretty recently died to be like.
Also, Matt kind of gets to this in like a later scene, but Jeremy, you were dating Vicki when she died.
Yeah.
How are you not just as close? I mean, I get it. It's not the same as being like a sibling with someone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Wouldn't you like try it yourself first instead of making this huge
he's close
request
enough.
of him?
It's not like he doesn't know her. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really
weird.
Insensitive that he asked this because he literally does not have enough proof to know that he should open this wound.
Literally, Jeremy Bing Gilbert. He just has like some papers that he looked it
binged
up. He literally binged it. Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
which is crazy because part of me was like, oh, just teenage boy who's just insensitive to death and doesn't know.
Yeah.
But then I was like, he's experienced so much loss. How does he not know that opening a wound, like, which everyone deals with things differently. Yeah. Maybe Jeremy is that type who's like, I want to go speak to a medium when someone I know has died, which lots of people out there, that is valid. But like, I don't know. I think like it's just crazy that he asks this of Matt with zero like knowledge, which again, Matt is not on board at all. He literally says no to like, Jeremy. No. And Jeremy said, Vicki said, help me. And Matt's like, if you're messing with me, like, and he kind of trails off. It's like, why would you? It does seem like you're kind of messing with him, Jeremy. This is just so crazy.
It's so ridiculous to also then go in there and be like, she's asking for help.
Yeah, that's so like, I would withhold that information. I wouldn't even share that she's saying help me.
Exactly.
What is Matt supposed to do?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what are they like? What is he realistically? They don't know how they can even help her at this point.
No,
so
they
I
don't.
know. It just seems
Jeremy has good intentions. Obviously, he is seeing Vicki and she is asking for help.
Yeah, he's not lying.
And so he does say like, she asked for help. You were the one she loved the most. If anyone's gonna be able to help me connect her to you, it's you. But like, poor Matt to have to hear that. That's awful. So I don't. We'll check in with those clowns throughout the rest of the season. Basically, this is going to be a plot for like several more episodes.
Yeah,
but I just this first kind of start to this, I'm like, Jeremy, this is cruel. This is not nice.
Yeah.
But we'll check back in with that later. First we have to visit Tyler and Elena eating at the grill.
Yeah, they're also at the grill.
Yeah.
Elena is talking with Tyler, and Alaric is also there. He's kind of looking at them. And Tyler tells Elena about like some werewolves don't chain themselves up during the full moon. Like they like to go to like mountains, state parks, that sort of thing, and just like enjoy it, run free. And he takes her phone to like show her a spot like in Tennessee that she could go to where there would be wolves. Yeah. Which,
how does he know this?
First of all, one, how does he know this? Two, Tyler like shows Elena how to get there in like 10 seconds. Klaus and Stefan have been looking for them all summer. They've wasted like
insight. He's a wolf.
I guess, but like Klaus knew Tyler survived. I don't know why he didn't just go to Tyler first.
I thought that too. I guess he just forgot about him. I don't know.
I guess.
Weird. But yeah, why not go straight to the werewolf you know is in town and turn them into a hybrid?
Yeah.
It is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, Tyler gets Elena where she needs to go in like 2 seconds. And she like thanks Tyler for helping her, and then Tyler says, you know, as Caroline likes to remind me, this is my fault because I bit Damon and Stefan had to give himself over to Klaus.
Love Caroline for that.
I know. Love her for reminding him of that. And Tyler, of course, is like, speaking of Caroline, have you seen her or heard from her? And Elena just says no. And Tyler's obviously like, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where you're like, I guess it's not like that weird. It's
it's
a
morning.
Kind of fine.
It's only been a few hours,
like obviously because they hooked up in the last episode.
Yeah, he's not suspicious yet. But
but it is definitely like we as the audience know no one's heard or seen
not Caroline. Good. We just saw her at the end of the last episode.
Get
taken down by Carol.
Yeah, so we know that red flags he's catching on.
Yeah, but they kind of end the conversation there, and Elena goes over to Alaric and basically tells him like, you come along with me or I'm going alone. At which point, Alaric points out, he's like, it's a full moon. You're not going alone. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And she throws it back. She's like, I'm going alone. Like, what happened to me handling things on my own? I'm so glad she threw that back in his face. God. Yeah. And he points out, he's like, I meant like frozen dinners and doing the SAT.
Yeah.
Which I just also take a problem with because
this man's
Alaric,
crazy.
you know that's not her life. Like,
yeah.
Even with Stefan now gone, you know that's just not.
Yeah, she's got Damon with her all the time.
Like, yeah, Klaus could find out at any time that she's still alive. Like,
yeah, he's crazy for thinking that it would be that simple.
Yeah.
And even then, no 17, 18-year-old, 16-year-old
should just be
alone dealing with the SATs. That's stressful enough.
Yeah, that was a terrible time. So, yeah. But anyway, Alaric is reluctant, but he does agree to go with her because otherwise she's going alone.
Choice. He has literally no choice.
Yeah.
Which Elena is crazy for. But
yeah, she's wild for that.
Whatever. Then we get to check in at the mountains, the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. The werewolf pack and Stefan are listening to Klaus just randomly like lament on being a hybrid. How great that is. How
great it'll be.
Yeah. Until Ray wakes up, and Stefan and Klaus like are searching the group for a human because obviously they have to complete Ray's transition. They do find a human and they force feed Ray to drink the human's blood. And Klaus gives the like werewolf woman who's presumably the leader of the pack his blood and kills her to like put her now into transition. And he says like, who's next? Like, so clearly he's just gonna go through the group and like everyone's gonna go into transition doing this now.
Yeah.
They didn't wait to see how the first experiment went. They're like, do the whole group, let's go.
Yeah, not really a good scientific process. You would have thought Stefan would have been a little like intervened and been like, maybe we should do this a different way.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately he just doesn't care enough. He's just along for the ride.
He's just so
so we'll check in with how that's going later. Back at the girl. We're going back to the girl every other second. That's
true.
Like where a lot of this is happening. Is, of course, Tyler's just waiting around for Caroline still. He's playing pool, and Matt comes over to fill his coffee. They're chatting. Tyler's, again, waiting for Caroline. They talk about her a little bit. They talk about the full moon that night. And in realizing that Caroline is kind of, like, bailed on Tyler, Matt kind of seems to like offer to like help Tyler with the transition tonight. He's like, if you need another person, like he
did the boy version of like, can I help you with anything? Can I do anything for you?
The teenage boy. It's nice. It is nice, actually.
Yeah.
But Tyler says like he can handle it. He's good, and he takes a sip of his coffee and he comments how it tastes really weird and like his taste buds must be off. Obviously says we as the audience remember he had that same situation earlier. And Matt reveals that the sheriff has him slipping vervain in the coffee, which is smart. Don't know how they weren't doing that already.
I know. That should have been season 1, episode 1. They were doing this.
Yeah, it's crazy that they weren't. But obviously this is the realization for Tyler. Oh, that's what vervain tastes like. I've tasted that before. Earlier today
this morning
from my mother. She knows. So yes, so that's like the big realization in this scene. Checking back in with his mother at the Lockwood house, Carol answers the door where Bill has arrived, so we get to see Bill. He is down to business. He drove straight there. Nobody in town saw him. Nobody knows he's there. It's some
like
big
this is
secret.
some covert op.
Literally crazy. And so Carol says like the rest of the council doesn't know anything. She's just been putting this together on her own for months now. I was like, how? I know we saw none of the summer, so we saw none of this, but it's like, what was she putting together? And also like she put together Caroline but not Damon, who she's always hanging out with. I was like, this is insane. I don't know what she put together.
I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, I felt like I should go back and like watch some scenes, like maybe at the end of season 2.
Yeah, but
I feel like it has to have just been over the summer that we never saw.
Summer. Yeah, because it's presumably her hanging out with Tyler. She's around her maybe a bit more now, but it's like, what could she have put together?
What is she putting together? I have no idea.
Yeah, Caroline doesn't burn in the sun, so it's not that.
I don't know. Maybe she thinks like, Caroline compelled Tyler to like date her or whatever. I don't know. The only way my son, I don't know.
Yeah, would date a Forbes.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But anyway, she's put it together somehow. She was right.
Yeah.
So Carol says she can't get her hands dirty with this, which I was laughing at. I was like, oh, the political scandal, Carol, it would be too outrageous.
She is interim mayor. Yeah. Now I'm assuming full mayor, but yeah.
But yeah, she can't get her hands dirty, so she can't do too much here. But, what should they do? And Bill says, like, they'll do what they have to do. So serious, obviously.
Yeah. Oh
She's
my God,
a vampire, so they'll do what they have to. So
I hate him
we'll
so
see
much.
What that means later. This episode is a lot of, like, the build-up to, like, what are they going to do to her? Who is this guy?
Yeah.
It's that kind of situation.
Yeah, we barely even see Caroline in this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do see Alaric and Elena walking along like a river. They're walking through the Great Smokies on a hike. Alaric says in a couple hours the full moon is going to rise over the ridge, which is where the werewolves will be. And Elena's just like, you were a Boy Scout, weren't you? Boy Scout / vampire slayer. And Alaric says, / whiskey drinking all around lost cause.
Oh, his self-pitying era is strong.
I know. He's so self-deprecating, but I liked that line. I thought that was funny. And he said it really like snappy, like better than I said it.
He's been hanging out with Damon so much.
He has. Yeah, he's getting a little quippier.
Yeah.
He they stop for a second. Alaric gets into his bag of weapons.
Oh,
he's
classic.
just carrying around all these things.
Always stocked at the ready.
Yeah. He pulls out a grenade. Elena asks if it's a vervain grenade, and he's like, no, wolfsbane. And Elena gives him, at this point, the Gilbert ring to protect him. And Alaric is like, no, I can't take it. It's yours. And Elena says, it won't work on me. Like, it's just for my children.
Yeah.
And he makes a joke about giving it to all the stubborn little baby Gilberts. And she's like, no, take it, really. And he says, okay, like, I'll just borrow it. And he does eventually take the ring. Which, like, this is just such a cute conversation between the two of them. I was mad at him all over again for abandoning her on her birthday. I was like, she was being so sweet in this scene.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, I just love Alaric and Elena's relationship so much. I think, like, Elena genuinely cares about most people. Like, she's a caring person.
Definitely.
But, like, this scene is one where you're like, she cares about Alaric so specifically.
Yeah.
Like, giving him the ring, and, like, she starts to talk to him, too, about, like, you're not a lost cause.
Yeah.
Like, she definitely has built such a relationship with him. Again, he is the only parental figure she even remotely has left in her life.
Exactly.
So, that inherently makes him so important to her.
Yeah.
But anyway, he does accept the ring. And she does start to say, like, you're not a lost cause. When suddenly she's thrown into the river, and it's revealed who threw her. Of course, Damon, obviously.
At vamp speed, mind you.
At vamp speed, just ran up.
He just, like, charges her.
Yeah, tosses her into the river. Which, the fact that Damon arrives by pushing Elena into the river, literally just to be petty, is so funny.
I love him.
So Damon. He's so ridiculous. And he's, like, standing there, and he says, thanks for the tip, brother, to Alaric, which, love them. Love that.
I love that.
Their bond is so strong.
I know.
But, yeah, also, he's there, obviously. And Elena is, like, really crazy for thinking that Alaric was just going to take her there and not tell Damon, not do anything. He was just like, the bag of weapons will be good.
Yeah, because, mind you, Alaric didn't even have the ring before this.
No.
Elena is just a defenseless young girl.
Yeah,
like,
she knows nothing.
Yeah.
So she's crazy that she didn't think Alaric would invite Damon. So, good thing he did.
Yeah.
Then we see back at the camp, Klaus and Stefan are flirting their usual.
I mean, true.
They're talking about the art of war and building armies and loyalty.
Boy flirting,
obviously. Yeah, that's what they're doing. So yeah, they're having their whole conversation. None of it matters. Whatever. Klaus just is building a war against nobody. He just wants to be prepared is basically the point of that.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Klaus hints there is a specific reason that he's keeping Stefan around. Like that he will reveal at a later date why he wants Stefan specifically. He doesn't want Stefan to know right now. And so we see during this conversation, Ray's like bleeding from the eyes. He is not looking too good. They're kind of checking him out. Scientist Stefan hits us with that shouldn't be happening. Klaus is like, obviously, he's bleeding from the eyes.
I know. I love that little exchange. Yeah. Klaus just, obviously.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Obviously.
Yeah. And Stefan is being so scientist Stefan in this, though. He's like in Ray's face, like trying to inspect, which
it's the classic.
You don't need to get in his face. He's bleeding from the eyes.
What are you observing? Blood is coming from his eyes.
Yeah.
It's a red flag, obviously. Klaus hits him with the obviously. And we see farther down the mountain, Elena is refusing to get out of the water. She's still in the water. And her and Damon are like fighting about it. Damon obviously is just going to take her right back home. He's not he's not going to go on with this mission. He's going to turn around and drag her screaming back home.
Yeah.
So they're fighting. Alaric is calling them idiots.
Yeah, of course.
The classic. And Damon finally gets to the point where he gets in the water with Elena because she will not back down about this. Again, still refusing to leave. She is so gung-ho. We have to find Stefan. That is the goal, is to find Stefan. And Damon's pointing out all of the reasons this is a bad idea. Klaus is there. He doesn't know that Elena is still alive. It is a full moon and there are werewolves everywhere. Yeah. For multiple reasons, this is terrible. Damon obviously points out what happened the last time with the full moon werewolf situation. He says, unless you want to relive the whole deathbed kissy thing.
I love him for that.
And Elena agrees. Like, we should leave before the full moon actually happens.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't be here for that.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, fine, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But until the full moon, we will be looking for Stefan.
Yeah.
That's kind of the agreement they come to. So they finally get out of the water.
Which, also, really quick, I love Alaric in the scene. It does, like, pan to him once or twice, and he's just watching them like, ugh. These two. Why am I always present for these scenes?
That's what I was just going to say. Is they get out of the water, and as always, Alaric's still just standing there for this whole combo. Like, Alaric is always present for these very specific types of interactions between Damon and Elena. Like, he sees the whole arc of their relationship, basically.
He really does,
in so many ways. But yes, so they finally have agreed. They will go look for Stefan. So we do see back at the camp, Ray is not doing so good. If the bleeding from the eyes, if that wasn't already telling you, he's not doing too good. He's like shaking.
He's shivering,
Yeah, he literally looks sickly. Stefan says, some master race. And Klaus says, lose the attitude.
These two. I was thinking,
what a pair.
Watching this episode, I was like, I really wish they made this like Klaus Stefan friendship arc last like all season. Like I wish they would have dragged it out for a little bit longer.
I know. I wish there was a logical way to like leave them just as a pair for a longer time.
I know.
But they're just so diametrically opposed in so many ways.
I know.
You could only stretch it for so long.
And I do like the little like tension they have where Stefan like does not want anything to do with this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's kind of hard to keep that going for so long.
Yeah,
but
it's so good.
It's so good.
Hitting him with the lose the attitude is so funny.
I
know. They're just so good together.
They really have, amazing
so much chemistry. So much. Too much.
Too much.
But anyway, Klaus is obviously telling him to lose the attitude because they got to get back down to business. They're trying to make hybrids here. And so they're trying to like feed the other hybrids the human blood to like help complete the transition. When Ray just runs away, he just disappears.
Runs off.
Yeah. And Stefan obviously has to go after him until Ray bites Stefan, which obviously allows Ray to get away. And then Stefan gets distracted because he spots Alaric, Damon, and Elena like walking up the hill in the distance.
Yeah, which I was thinking this the whole time. Like, how are they this close to him? But then they like...
Yeah, they don't find him till...
They don't find... Yeah.
They never find him, actually.
They never find him. He finds them.
Yeah, I guess they didn't know where they were going. But
if Stefan can hear them, how can
Klaus
also not hear them?
Well, I think... So what happens next is Klaus does arrive immediately. And Stefan is obviously trying to lead Klaus away. And I notice he's like talking and stuff. So he's definitely trying to fill the audio space so that he can't pick up on them in the distance. Because they're like far enough away that it's definitely like you got to tap into the vamp hearing to like really be able to find them. But yeah, so he's like definitely trying to be like, let's go right that way. Like that's the vibe he's giving. But then he shows Klaus, of course, that he was bit and that he's going to need his blood. And Stefan tells him, well, you got to find Ray if you want to be healed. So good luck. That's his goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I love their dynamic. Yeah, Stefan's ready to just leave Ray, go back to the pack, get out of here. Like he's so over it.
He's so over it. Yeah, as Klaus should be, because we get a little quick look at Camp Klaus.
Oh my God.
Where his collection of werewolves are all like waking up in transition. All of them are not doing well. They're all like bleeding from the eyes. They all look literally, again, sickly, ill, like zombies.
Yeah.
So not doing too good.
Yeah, no.
But at the Lockwoods, gotta check in on that plot every 2 seconds. This whole episode.
Yeah.
Carol's in the office when Tyler walks in, immediately confronting her about putting vervain in his coffee. And Carol plays dumb. And Tyler's like, skip the act. We know there's vampires in this town. Tell me why. These two.
Yeah.
And she says, like, he's been spending too much time with Caroline. Yeah. And so he plays dumb. And she's like, skip the act where we pretend Caroline's not one of them. These two. The Lockwoods and the Forbes.
Yeah. Yeah. And Carol's like going on about how, the Caroline's a monster, blah, blah, blah. And Tyler has the realization. He's like, oh, you don't even know, Mom. Like,
you don't even know.
So there's just like a little unspoken thing. He doesn't say it in that moment, but he realizes.
Yeah.
Carol
he realizes,
doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that like, that's going to change things for Caroline if she's aware of what Tyler is.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to
obviously,
that. Yeah. Again, checking in.
Tyler knows what he has to do.
Yeah,
but we'll come back to it. Then we go back to Alaric and Elena and Damon walking through the Smoky Mountains. They're talking about how the sun is setting, but Elena just keeps saying, like, we have time, we got to save Stefan. Like, it doesn't matter until the full moon is, like, at its apex. Like, we have until then. And at this point, Ray stumbles upon them. Like, they hear him coming through the woods and, like, stepping on branches. And as he comes closer, we see he's still bleeding from the eyes, and he immediately clocks that Damon is a vampire and just goes to attack Damon.
Yeah.
And Elena just, like, throws Damon a wolf's bane grenade.
Yeah.
Which Damon, just, like, smashes, and it gets Ray off of him. And Alaric realizes, like, that's a hybrid.
Yeah, because he, like, falls to the ground. I think Damon kicks him in the stomach. He's, like, unconscious. So they've now got this hybrid, like, at their feet.
Yeah.
They can do with him. Obviously, like we said, he's ill. They
can do with him whatever they need to do. Yeah. And now he's been wolf's maned. Yeah.
Checking in on our wolf, or not, from the wolves to the ghosts. There's so many wolves, ghosts, I guess just regular wolves. So many different plots going on in this one. It's hard to keep them up.
Yeah, this one's very back and forth.
At Matt's house, Matt and Jeremy are going through Vicki's things. And Jeremy says that a personal item will help build a stronger connection so they can make better contact with her. Interesting that we got to this place, because I felt like the last place we left off, Matt was saying no to doing this. But I guess now he's just like, she needs help.
Yeah, I did think once Jeremy said Vicki needs help and she's asking for help, Matt did kind of seem like he was coming around a little bit. Like, it wasn't explicitly said or anything, but he sort of seemed like he might.
I think it's the thing, like we were saying earlier, it's like this puts Matt in such a terrible position.
Yeah, what's he going to say?
Like, no. Yeah, I'm not going to help my potentially, like, dead sister with, like, her ghost problems. He's in a hard position. He had to do something. So they're looking through her stuff.
Which, speaking of a bad position, how could Jeremy do this to Matt? This is so sick.
Again, Jeremy must know. He's been literally through this with his parents, and having things boxed up. Having to go through that stuff is awful. It's so hard.
When, like, Matt is trying to be a good sport about it. Like, he asks, like, if her, like, bong counts. Like, they're going through all her stuff. They find that. And, you know, Matt makes that little joke. But then Matt finds a picture of the two of them as children. Yeah. And of course, he's instantly overwhelmed and, like, very upset. Yeah. And he tells Jeremy, like, I can't do this. And Jeremy is like, but you have a chance to help her. But Matt is like, Jeremy, you gotta go. Like, I can't. Like, we can't do this. Like, you need to do this alone. So Jeremy leaves, and Matt, like, you know, he turns to where Jeremy is leaving through the door, and behind him, where he had the photo, he hears a little noise, and he turns around, and the photo that he had set face down is now sitting upright. Yeah. So clearly
Ghost Vicki wants him to help too.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Giving Matt the signs.
Yeah. Again, though, Jeremy's just so sick for this. Like,
I know.
I just can't believe he's doing this to him. But, like, the first person he had to go to about all of this is Matt. You couldn't, like, I know it's awkward to tell Bonnie my dead girlfriend is, like, contacting me from the other side or whatever. That is an easier conversation than your dead sister is desperately asking for help.
Your dead sister. Yeah.
And you're just a regular person who has zero way of
we're going to have to do, like, a seance or something. Like, I don't know.
Jeremy is teenage boy. I'm always gonna write off the teenage boys. Teenage boys.
Yeah, a lot of what are they thinking in this episode, including Damon, Alaric, and Elena. Yeah, Damon and Alaric are, like, tying Ray to a tree. Elena is, like, using, like, a water bottle or something to dump something onto a rope. Mm-hmm. And she says, "Oh, Rick, here, take these," like, the ropes. And Damon goes to grab it, but it burns him. And he's like, he screams, like, ow, ow. And Elena's like, I said Rick. Because obviously she's sewing them in vervain. Yeah. It's really funny. It's
it is funny. She's just like, that's your fault, Damon. Like, I didn't tell you to grab it.
Yeah, this is a pretty good, like, Delana episode. I was like, I love their banter. Yeah. And Alaric's like, I'm not sure we can make it in time to get out of here. And Elena tries to say, like, you know, if we can get him to talk, we don't need to get out of here before the full moon. Which, what?
Yeah, talk about what? Be like, oh, yeah, Stefan Salvatore, I know him. Right there. Yeah, I don't know what she thought he would say. But still, grasping at straws here for her.
For sure. And she goes to touch his face, and he starts, like, transitioning. Like, they realize he's turning into a werewolf. And they're surprised because they don't realize at this point that hybrids can sort of transition whenever they want. Yeah. And it's still fully daylight. Like, there's no moon in sight, and it's still day. So they're surprised. And they also realize at this point, like, the ropes, the vervain-soaked ropes, are not going to hold a werewolf. Like, they have one chain, I think, but definitely not enough. So Elena like finally concedes. She's like, okay, we do have to go. And
yeah, right now.
Yeah. Back at camp real quick, just a quick little cutscene. We see Klaus kills the human Derek, and he just kind of looks out at like the whole scene, like the whole little clearing that they're at.
Science experiments.
Yeah, all of the pack are just walking around basically like zombies.
Yeah.
All of their eyes are bleeding at this point. Like,
yeah,
not looking good. It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we go back to Elena, Alaric, and Damon. They're running through the woods. Elena trips, and they're like, Elena, stay calm. And she looks up, and she's face to face with a wolf. And Damon, of course, lures the wolf away. He gives a little, here, doggy, doggy, and like runs off. And Alaric is trying to reason with Elena. He's like, we have to go.
Yeah.
And Elena does not want to leave Damon, but of course, like, it's just unsafe. Like, Alaric does convince her pretty easily. We have to go.
Yeah, we have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll check back in with those guys, see if they make it out alive.
Yeah.
Speaking of, actually, at the Lockwood cellar, Tyler somehow made Caroline follow him all the way. Oh my God, now it's me.
I wouldn't have called you out, but I was like, I gotta, because finally it's not just me doing it.
We gotta call each other out because this is so confusing. Carol.
They really were sick for this. Maybe we should do Mrs. Lockwood or something.
That's true. Maybe we should just call her. So formal. But
I know.
I'm like, it is
Mayor
confusing.
Lockwood.
Why did they pick Carol and Caroline?
Too confusing.
Anyway, Tyler somehow made his mother follow him all the way out to the Lockwood cellar without telling her why or what they're doing. I don't know. He just drags her out there to the woods and she goes with him. My mom, I don't know if I could make her go that far, but
I mean, yeah, just because, I mean, inherently
it's just weird situation.
It's weird. Yeah.
And so, yeah, he also then tells her to get into like the locks, like in the cellar where they actually can like lock her. So he locks her behind bars. Mm-hmm. Then he starts locking himself up with his usual chains and things, putting himself to the floor, and he like starts transitioning into a wolf. And he tells Carol that he is the monster, and he says, "Me, Uncle Mason, it's in our blood. It's our family's curse." And she's like, "Curse? What curse? What are you talking about?" She obviously doesn't have a clue what's going on, but like, he is transitioning. She's going to see all of it now. Yep. So we'll check back in with them when that is over. Yeah. But Carol's about to have a show.
Yeah, she's also screaming her head off during this.
Yeah, I would too.
I mean, I would too. But I just wanted to point out, because I could barely watch the scene. I was like, okay, Carol.
Yeah.
But I'd be the same. But anyway, we see Damon's walking through the woods. He's, trying to lure Ray away. And we do see now Ray is back in his human form. And he starts immediately fighting Damon. And Damon is basically, like, outmatched. Like, I mean, Ray's a hybrid. Yeah. Even though he's a failed hybrid, he's still a hybrid. And they're fighting, and Ray's, like, about to kill him, it feels like. And then Stefan comes up behind him and rips his heart out through the back, saving Damon's life, of course. Yeah. And Stefan, of course, is just like, what part of don't follow me anymore? Do you not understand? And Damon says, if you don't want us following you, if you don't want Elena chasing you, stop calling her. Stop with the late night phone calls.
Yeah, that's obviously what encourages her.
Obviously, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Elena was probably, not ready to give up, but she was closer to that than before the call.
Yeah, this gave her so much encouragement.
Yeah. And Stefan, of course, denies calling, and Damon is like, sure, but yeah, like, she's not gonna give up on you, on. And Stefan is like, well, she's gonna have to, because I'm never coming home, like, I'm never coming back, so get her home and try to keep her there this time.
Yeah,
he's sassy. He's very sassy in his duo with Klaus era.
Yeah, well, Damon says it well too. Like, I think he at one point calls Stefan like something about a martyr. I'll bring up the line when he says it, but it is like, Stefan's fully in this like relentless martyr era.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of relentless martyrs, Elena.
Yeah.
So Elena and Alaric are waiting in the car. They've made it back, and they're just like sitting there. And Alaric's, it's my job to keep the humans safe. Let the vampires fight the werewolf hybrid mountain men. And so Elena's giving Alaric the pep talk of the century. She is saying to him, "You're not a lost cause, Rick. You're just lost. But so is Jeremy, and so am I." And she's like going on to say, like, we don't have anyone, you don't have anyone, we're all like good for each other. And he responds by saying he'll keep the ring.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an acceptance of like, it's a really cute, like, nice moment between them.
It is.
Definitely trying to like build those like family bonds and that connection, because they do need each other. She's so right in everything she's saying. It's just crazy that the 18-year-old has to explain this to the grown man, but whatever, they get to the right conclusion in the end there. And so Damon shows up at this point. So they get out of the car to go like run up to him. And Damon like turns Elena right around and is forcing her right back to the car, marching her back. And he confirms he's bite free. They're all good. They need to go. And we see in the distance, Stefan is like kind of on the top of a hill or something watching over them. And Elena's looking out the window and you see her eyes kind of catch for a second. But then we see Stefan whoosh away. And so you're like, she probably didn't see him because he moved so fast, but she definitely got some sort of glimpse of a moment where it's like, she thought she did.
Just
she got
enough.
Some hope.
Just enough for some hope.
Oh, exactly. That's their whole vibe.
Always
this Elena vibe.
Yeah, which, speaking of just enough for some hope, Matt comes over to the Gilbert house and he like apologizes and has a 6-pack, which... Why Matt is apologizing, I don't know. He has nothing to apologize for. But.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
And that Jeremy wasn't like, I guess he was kind of like, you're okay. But
yeah,
I don't know, still.
It was odd. But yeah, Matt comes over. He has the 6-pack. Jeremy invites him in and Matt just starts talking about, he kept going through Vicki's stuff. And he sort of is reminiscing on Vicki and saying, you know, not a lot of people understood Vicki, but you were one person who understood her and like better than I even understood her. Mm-hmm. And Matt opens his backpack and shows that he has some of Vicki's things that he brought over. And Jeremy at this point mentions like Elena had Damon take away all of the memories of Vicki, so he doesn't even remember the last moment with her. And Matt kind of mentions he doesn't really remember the last human moment that he had with Vicki before she was a vampire, because he just doesn't know when it happened. And they're just reminiscing. And this obviously, like we know from rewatchers know, talking about them, thinking about them brings the ghosts back. Yeah. So Jeremy at this point turns around and we see that Vicki is there. And Matt realizes, like, are you seeing something? Like, he can't see Vicki, but he knows. And he realizes Vicki must be there. And Jeremy asks Vicki, like, how they can help her. And Vicki says, I can come back. You can help me come back. And there's, like, a tear running down her face, which I don't think I've ever noticed before this watch. But I was like, oh, Vicki. Yeah. Sad. She's so tragic. I mean, I end up hating her really in the end. But I know she's so tragic.
They ruin her in this scene or this season, Anna too. But I do like both of them in their original, stories. Yeah. And Jeremy turns back to Matt, probably to relay this all to him. And we hear the windows shatter. We see them burst through, and Jeremy's looking, and he doesn't see anything. Vicki's gone. But then we see Anna appears, and she tells Jeremy not to trust Vicki. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Do you think Anna broke the glass or Vicki? Because I think Anna did.
Oh, interesting.
To get attention,
Yeah, that could be. That makes sense. I'm not sure. Yeah, I was thinking just originally Vicki seems more of like a Vicki move. She feels just more like chaotic, like she would break the windows. Yeah. But I could see Anna breaking them to get his attention.
It's so hard with the witch stuff. It's hard to tell like who moves stuff, how they move stuff, all that stuff. You don't always get clarity around what exactly is happening. So.
Yeah. Interesting. I feel like Anna doing it for attention makes sense, but I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Could be Vicki too, I guess, to not lose the attention. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
She's gone by then, so it could be Anna.
That's true. Anyway. Back to the Smoky Mountains, as always, this episode. Yep. Stefan is carrying Ray's now dead body.
He's just with Klaus to be his, like, pack mule.
Literally.
He's just carrying everything.
He's like, he can't compel anyone else to do this. Yeah. But yeah, Klaus is just sitting there sulking over all of these dead werewolf bodies. And Klaus reveals he killed some bled out, but they're all dead. Like, the whole entire pack is now dead because of Klaus. And Klaus is like putting everything together, being like, I don't understand. Like, I did everything. I killed I did the spell. I killed the werewolf. I killed the vampire. I killed the doppelganger. He's so smart. He's so intuitive. He plays it like he kind of knows that Stefan is like up to something or like knows something. Like, I really like the way that he's like delivering these lines, because he's theorizing, but he's also like accusing in like a very subtle way.
See, I was thinking, and I was going to mention in the next episode specifically, but I do think Klaus knows, like, before he ever reveals he knows. And I'm not sure if it happens in this episode, like, he did somehow hear Elena and Damon and Alaric, or if he somehow, like, thought, like, he had a suspicion or something. Yeah. But, I mean, obviously in the next one, he puts it together.
Yeah. But my guess is he doesn't know, but he suspects. And that's kind of what, because Klaus does that a lot. It's kind of the same with, like, Catherine with the vervain situation in Alaric's apartment. Even later with Damon and Elena being like sired. Like Klaus is just very smart, very intuitive, more so than any of the other characters, I would say. We always talk about Damon and Stefan being smart, but Klaus is like another level.
He's been around the block.
Yeah, he's been around the block. He knows every trick in the book. Yeah. So yeah, he kind of like has these theories, I think, that he keeps to himself for a long time, but is always heavily like keeping an eye on before he reveals it at a most opportune moment.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is happening here.
Definitely. And Stefan does, I think, look concerned. So like,
he does.
He probably in this moment is like, something went wrong. Stefan knows.
Yeah, Stefan
gonna keep an eye on that.
Yeah, but not enough to accuse, not enough to do anything here. No. And again, I like it for the audience because it kind of is reminding us, or like tricking us, I guess, into thinking like, oh, this is failing because Elena's not dead. Like that's the problem, is like the doppelganger is supposed to die. So it's a good audience misdirect too, and thinking like that is the problem. Yeah. Which of course is what Stefan is thinking too. So anyway, so Klaus is like, you know, not going to do anything right here. So he says to Stefan that he looks like hell, changing the conversation. And Stefan points out, like, well, I am dying from a werewolf bite right now. But, you know, he did fail by killing Ray, so Klaus can do whatever he needs to do. Yeah.
Stefan's like, you got to kill me. Kill me. Yeah. Fine.
Do whatever. I don't care at this point. Just end my torturing. Yeah. And so Klaus takes an empty beer bottle and fills it with his blood and gives it back to Stefan. And I love when Klaus needs to fill something with blood because he bites his whole fist like it's an apple. Like I don't know what he's doing there. Like if they make him hold like a blood thing that he has to squeeze in some specific way. That's my guess. But something about the way he does it, he always bites his whole fist. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, but it's really funny. So anyway, so Klaus hands that to him and he says that they're leaving. And Stefan is the only comrade that he has left. Buddies for life, for real.
Yeah, even though Stefan is like barely with him. But
he's forced. Yeah, indentured servitude, like you said in the last one. But Stefan drinks the blood and follows him out.
Yeah, and I do think part of the reason Klaus like is suspicious, but I think he's like slightly in denial. Like he doesn't want to believe that's true. Stefan could be like not fully like with him. Yeah, he likes
Stefan. He wants Stefan to be his friend.
Exactly.
Willingly.
Yeah. So I think, he probably is suspicious, but doesn't even want to go there because he's just in denial about it.
Oh, totally. He wants him to willingly choose to be his friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not happening, obviously.
No.
We'll check in with them next episode.
Yeah. But back at the Gilbert house, Elena is in her bedroom. She's like getting ready for bed. She sees Damon's there by the window and Damon just says, you know, I was wrong about Stefan being gone. Like he can be saved. And Elena asks him what changed his mind.
Oh, you're not going to say what Elena says though when he's looking out the window. He says, I was wrong. And Damon goes, or Elena goes, are you drunk?
Okay.
Like, she got him.
He probably is.
That's the Damon class. He goes, no. But he's so offended. Like, why would you assume that? Because you always show up drunk at her house in the middle of the night, Damon. Of course she would assume that.
True.
It's so funny. True. But yes, he does go on to the serious conversation of like, Stefan can be saved. I've changed my mind about him.
Yeah. And he says he changed his mind because Stefan saved his life back there.
Yeah. This is when he says the line. He says that Stefan is an insufferable martyr that needs his ass kicked, but he can be saved.
Yeah.
So.
So he's gonna help. He realizes, you know, Stefan can be saved, but you know, he just needs his ass kicked. So he's gonna help Elena bring him back.
Yeah.
And before he does that, though, he first needs to ask her why she changed her mind about staying on the mountain. And you know, she says, well, obviously it was because it was dangerous. And, you know, they go back and forth. She's kind of being evasive. And Damon is pointing out, you know, it was dangerous from the start. Like, even just going there in the first place was dangerous.
Yeah.
And he keeps pushing it and is kind of getting in her face. And she says she didn't want to see him get hurt. She was worried about him.
Yeah.
And Damon's like, okay. And he goes,
Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah. And he just goes to leave. And she asks why he needed to hear her say it. And he goes back. And he touches her face. He like puts both hands around her face. And he's close to her. And he's like, because when I drag my brother from the edge and I deliver him back to you, I want you to remember the things that you felt while he was gone. Ooh. Good night, Elena.
Oh my God.
I love it. Also at this point, he's like, because he had both hands on her face, he like drags his fingers through her hair a little bit before he like fully walks away. Such a good scene. This is a good Elena episode.
Oh my god, it is. Yeah, I was screaming, crying.
Yeah,
I was like, this is crazy. Oh. The way he cups her face, the way he caresses her hair, it's everything. Me. And he leaves the room, like, going into the hallway. Right after that, he's just like, good night, bye. Like, leaving her, like, shell-shocked, basically. And as he's, like, going down the stairs and Alaric is coming up the stairs, he's got his bags. He's moving back in.
Yep.
Clearly that combo. Yeah, thank God. Clearly that combo with Elena did some good to, like, knock some sense into him that they all need to be together. So he's moving in. And as Damon's going down, he says, how's it going, Rick? Just casual. Alaric is always witnessing the Damon-Elena moments.
Yep.
And so, you know, Alaric turns to Elena and is like, do you know what you're doing there? You know what's going on there? And she says, no, I don't.
Nope. She's real.
Yeah, not a clue.
Yeah, love that for her.
So yeah, leaving them in an interesting spot, which those vibes will continue next episode.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So we'll get back to them in the next one. But of course, we have to finish this out with
exactly.
the big werewolf plot.
Yeah, we left off with, you know, Carol and Tyler, the whole transition thing. And we see now Tyler is waking up in the cellar. He's naked. He did the whole transition thing. Yeah. Okay. Carol witnessed that. Wild.
Yeah.
She's stunned. She doesn't even know what to think. You can see on her face. And she doesn't even say a thing about the transition. She just says, I'll take care of it. I'll make sure nothing happens to Caroline.
Yeah. Reality check.
That's it.
For real.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. And Tyler thanks her. And then we see, you know, presumably later on, Carol is in the house, in the Lockwood house. And she calls up Bill. And she tells Bill that she thinks that we made a mistake. And Bill's like, why did you have a change of heart? And, you know, Carol just asks, like, what if we're wrong about them being monsters? Obviously, she doesn't think Tyler's a monster. And, you know, maybe Caroline isn't either.
Yeah.
She might be a prostitute, but she's not a monster.
Yeah. There's a line.
Carol's come around.
Yeah.
But Bill starts, I mean, yeah, us rewatchers know Bill is being Bill.
Yeah.
He's just going on and on about how he knows his obligations. My family's been committed to this fight for 150 years.
Yeah.
Carol, you might have married into it, but yeah, I've been fighting the good fight for these 150 years. And, you know, Carol tries to say, like, wait real quick, but Bill's already hung up. He's
gone.
He knows what he's going to do.
He's gone.
It's too late to stop Bill from doing
what
he's going to do.
This convo is so insane. The, like,
I know.
You married into this, you just don't understand. It's, like, so patronizing.
I know. There's nothing good about Bill, that included.
He's worse than John Gilbert, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
John sucks.
Yeah, exactly. At least John gets a redemption arc. But Bill, I personally don't think he ever does.
No, and John kind of sucks in, like, a fun, like, he's the family member we all like to hate way.
Yeah.
But he's still family.
Yes, exactly.
But Bill's like, I don't know this guy.
Yeah, no, you're like, do not talk about him.
Yeah,
like, no, we do not want to know him.
But anyway, getting to that family connection, actually, we see in the cellar, we finally get to see Caroline in this cell that we have never seen before. She's like literally strapped down to a chair.
Yeah.
And she's yelling out for Mrs. Lockwood. She's yelling out for anybody. She's obviously scared, doesn't know what's going on. And she finally hears someone coming. And we get to see Bill arrives, opening up the door. And he says, hello, Caroline. And she says, Daddy? Mic
drop for real.
It's Caroline's father.
Yeah.
On first watch, you have no clue.
Yeah, crazy. Even now, like, and knowing all of the context of his arc, I'm like, I can barely believe. Because he's so a sicko.
Crazy. He is.
But we'll get into that later.
Yeah, there's going to be so much to say about this plot in the next episode. Because it is, as well as the 20s, this is the other big chunk of the next episode, is, of course, like, Caroline going through what's about to happen in this cell. So there'll be a lot to say about their family dynamic and everything going on there in the next one. So we'll save it. But what a setup. Yeah.
So for this episode, we can go to our in memoriam section. Kind of a big in memoriam section, except it's all one person, basically. So
it might be a record breaker. I think the only episode that can compete with it is like a Founder's Day or like a Tomb Vampire. I don't think there's even a season 2 episode that compares. Descent is the closest when Damon and Rose are on their rampage, and even in that, doesn't touch this.
No. This is particularly a lot of deaths. Yeah. Just to get it out of the way, straightforward one. Stefan kills Ray. We all saw that.
Rips his heart out.
Yeah. Done. Klaus, we of course know, kills the whole werewolf pack. He kills all of them once and then basically twice.
Yeah. Transition into hybrid and then actual death.
When he realizes it's all going wrong. we're not sure how many people are in the pack. We think maybe like 8 to 13.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Like there was a photo where looked like there were 8, but then the wiki said 12. Hard to be sure.
Yeah.
But this means Klaus killed at least 8 to 13 members times 2 of the pack. So he has, at this point, 16 to 26.
Yep. Plus one human.
Plus the human Derek. Yep.
Yeah, Derek. So yeah, he's already setting record level deaths.
Yeah.
For one episode and also for a season. He's already in 2 episodes into season 3. He's competing. So
yep.
Way to go, Klaus. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah. Love Klaus.
Yeah. So people we love less. Out of pocket. We always get the regulars in the out of pocket section, and today is no exception. You know, it's always going to be a Lockwood or a Forbes, and the Lockwoods came in clutch today.
Oh yeah. Carol was whack in this episode.
Yeah, it has to be. Carol calling Caroline a prostitute. That is so insane. And then also being like, but I've known her since she was a baby. We can't do this to her. I saw her the day she was born. But she's a prostitute. It's so funny.
I know. Yeah, I had Carol too for this. I was like, it's just so obvious.
It had to be Carol.
Obviously. Yeah, because everything else feels so like serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Carol. I mean, come on.
It's always a Lockwood if they're present. So
yeah, it's always a Lockwood. A lot of the times Carol.
Yeah. Moving on to the next category that I feel like is also a lot of usual suspects.
For sure.
You know, I've got some honorable mentions for this one. I feel like there was a lot of good, fun quotes.
That's, of course, a lot of sassing people.
Oh, always the sass. I want to give a shout out to Damon at the start when he tells Elena that, you know, he didn't tell her about Andy on her birthday. He says, "Happy birthday, Elena. Stefan killed Andy. Cake?" Yeah.
Love that.
What was he supposed to say, Elena? Like, there was nothing to be said there. And then, of course, he also says in that scene, Stefan's gone, and I don't mean geographically.
Yes, that was a good one, too.
It's like a funny, snappy one, but it's also, like, sassy in an interesting way. And smart. So I liked that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I just had one honorable mention, and then I think there was a very obvious winner. So my honorable mention was the exchange between Elena and Alaric that I already talked about, where Elena calls him a Boy Scout / vampire slayer, and Alaric says he's a / whiskey drinking all around lost cause. Yeah. I just thought that was funny. And a little self-aware moment.
Oh, yeah. That sums up Alaric very well.
He's being self-deprecating, but also he's kind of right at this moment. He's not a lost cause, but like...
Yeah. Which, my, like, speaking of, I had a little sentimental shout out, too, of I really like when Elena says to Alaric, you're not a lost cause, Rick. You're just lost.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cute one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, Elena really can hit us with a good sentimental quote once in a while.
Oh, definitely.
So, I really like that one.
Yeah. She's good for a sentimental one. Damon's always good for a sassy one.
Oh, yeah. Classic. And this other person is just good all the time.
All around, yeah. I
assume the obvious winner. Yep. Yeah, the obvious winner is the zoomed in, you've heard of me. Fantastic.
I love
him.
From
Klaus.
Yeah, of course.
It's so funny.
It's
a great quote.
So funny. Yeah, I feel like I think they might have used it like for promo material. Like it just feels like it would have been like a tagline. You see it in like a promo. I don't know. It just works so well.
Yeah, it's the delivery, like the camera work. I love that moment. It's so funny. It's so Klaus.
It is. Yeah, I like that moment too.
So obvious winner, Klaus.
Yeah, that was my obvious winner too.
Yeah,
for
classic. Sure. I think the next one has an obvious winner too.
I think so too.
Is songs. The songs this episode, we always pick the best song played in each episode. And this song, there weren't as many songs. Like, episode 1 had so many songs. So there weren't, like, a ton of things being played here. I don't know if you have an honorable mention you want to call out first.
No, I mean, you know, I'm a sucker for the sentimental, but this week it didn't wow me. It was Echo by Jason Walker, but...
Yeah, obligatory call out.
Yeah, a little obligatory call out. Feel like I have to, but...
Yeah, we have to say them.
It didn't really do it for me.
Yeah. There was a girl song I liked this time, Parade by Delta Spirit. It plays when Jeremy tells Matt that he saw Vicki and they're talking in, like, the back room. I liked that one. It was like a good, like a rock kind of, you know, at the grill vibe that we are always like looking for. Yeah. So I thought that was a good one, but it didn't stand out to me as much as the next one. Yeah. The winner.
Of course.
I used to listen to this song all the time when it came out, when it was always getting played. And that was Got It All, This Can't Be Living Now by Portugal the Man.
Yeah. Obvious winner, I think.
Yeah, that one stood out to me. It was playing when Tyler and Elena were talking about like the Tennessee Wolves at the grill. But I just loved that song, so it immediately like, you know, pricked up my ear where I was like, Portugal the Man.
Yeah. Love. It's a fun one to have in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So that was the obvious winner.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. Yeah.
Nice.
We'll add that to the best song playlist.
Yes. Got It All will be in the song of the episode playlist. We've got all the winners from season 1, season 2, now going into season 3. We'll also be adding it to our season 3 playlist, where we have all of the winners and all of the honorable mentions for the season so far. We're only in episode 2, so it might be a little short, but
although we limited ourselves, but yeah.
But yeah, so check all of that out. It's linked in our various bios and descriptions, as well as our TikTok and our Instagram, where you can follow us along with clips, polls, memes, I don't know, all sorts of fun stuff going on there. We're always trying to keep the conversation going, so follow along there.
Yeah, and join us next week. You can listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or watch the video version on YouTube for season 3, episode 3, The End of the Affair. You already know what it is.
Yeah, 1920s.
We'll leave it there. Yeah.
So thanks for watching and or listening to this one. Bye.
Bye.